So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Can the iPhone 17e take on the Galaxy S26 Ultra? Let's see how good the performance really is, and if this phone can actually stack up next to a twice the price phone right here. This is the iPhone 17e, and this over here, Galaxy S26 Ultra. Let's go ahead and begin with a boot up in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, the reason I mentioned that this is 17e is because you really can't tell the difference between that and the 16e, but we'll showcase that in the specs in a minute here. But we are looking at 8 gigabytes of RAM, the Apple A19 chipset, however, one less GPU core than the base 17, and the Galaxy S26 Ultra does have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy and 12 gigs of RAM, Android 16, One UI 8.5. This thing turns on faster than that of the 17e, but it wasn't by much. And what spurred this video idea on was I was reading some comments in my previous video, people saying that I purposely chose the 17e over more premium phones, and they just weren't willing to pay that. But so that I think it's pretty interesting to see, can these budget, or I wouldn't say budget, but these phones like the 17e, these mid-rangers, stack up, or do they do enough to compete with the larger phone, or at least they're worth getting over paying that extra money. Let's go ahead and get into the biometrics now. So when it comes to unlocking the iPhone 17e, you'll see as we swipe in, the phone itself just kind of doesn't look super smooth with its 60 hertz refresh, but although the animations look nice, after a few tries, goes in really simple, but the animation doesn't look quite as smooth as you'll see right here on the Galaxy S26 Ultra. I was still thinking about the 17e there, but you could see if I just look at the phone, it just flies right in. It can bypass the swipe. So not only is that faster to unlock, it's not super easy to fool it anymore either with a picture, but also if you go ahead and hold that down right there, you have that fingerprint sensor that can easily be accessed in pretty much any location. You don't even need to look at the screen. If you know where it's at, you will hit it, but you've seen right there I actually missed. So if you do not hit the exact right location, you could miss. I think getting into the S26 Ultra is a faster phone, not only to turn it on, but also to bypass into the lock screen, and it also looks nicer and smoother when doing so. You see that flying effect was very smooth. So you kind of see the differences there between a mid-range phone and a premium phone. However, if we were looking at maybe like a Pixel 10a or something of that sort with a smoother refresh, this probably wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. So I do think we need to see the higher refresh on the future of the E line. Let me know if you agree down below. So when swiping through here, you'll see that the iPhone 17e generally flies along just like most other iPhones. However, the refresh rate is definitely making the phone appear a little bit choppy when going through different menus. However, the phone itself tends to, once it's warmed up, perform pretty adequate, pretty good. Most people won't even notice a difference when they're not comparing side by side, but if you do see it in the store and then you pick up the 17 Pros or whatever right next door to that phone, you will definitely see this difference. But I do think for what it is, it's a pretty impressive phone overall in terms of performance. Now, for the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, because just like other premium phones with its higher refresh, you can see that it looks snappier, smoother, faster. Now, I will say that this not only looks faster than the mid-range S17e, but it also does tend to look even snappier and way faster than even some of the higher end iPhones. So the Galaxy is really on another level, and in terms of navigating the phone itself, you are going to get through things pretty much quicker. Definitely, it feels about 50% quicker. So just in regular use, it kind of feels that way on the Galaxy S26 Ultra versus the 17e. But which one can launch these apps first? Let's go ahead and check that out. All right, guys, so we've read the app test. Let's make sure everything is closed out on both, and we'll begin with calendar. And you could see that was a pretty choppy launch there on the 17e when I look at it side by side to the 26 Ultra. Let's go to clock. And nice launch on both. However, still animation quicker for the Galaxy. Let's swipe out of there. We'll go into calculator, much faster there on the right. We'll go into App Store, Play Store, much faster on the right there. And so far we are seeing a nicer performance for going with the higher tier phone. That's nice. We usually don't see much of a difference. Quicker there by a pretty good shot there on the Galaxy. Let's go into Gemini, and once again, appears there first. Also, the Galaxy is going to do better with AI. It's much more advanced when it comes to AI features. And if you're doing heavy AI, you are going to want to get something more higher tier. Although the 17E does support it, it's going to be a much better experience on a 17 Pro Max or a Galaxy S26 Ultra. Let's go ahead and swipe up out of there. So far, the S26 Ultra has launched everything first. You can see right there. And I feel like, I am seeing so far the difference. So let's head into Instagram here on both. And you'll see that one actually loaded first on the iPhone. So now might come down to optimization. Let's go into X right there. And I'm going to go ahead and click profile right here. And you could see that one went to the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Guys, so let's go ahead and hit news here on both phones. And you could see a slight hair to the S26 Ultra, but nothing drastic. Let's go ahead and open up a article right here. You can see scrolling much faster on the Ultra, but you can see 17E, the fact that this shouldn't even be in the same sentence as the S26 Ultra, but it is kind of hanging a decent there with it. I mean, S26 Ultra is winning most of these, but the 17E is not a slowpoke by no means, but it definitely is showing why you're going to pay more to get a top tier flagship. You'll see right here, the Subway City Surfers is going to go first on neither. That one's pretty close, actually. I don't think these differences will annoy you on the iPhone 17e, but I do think if you actually use the Galaxy phone on one of the recent S25, 6, or even maybe 4s, you probably will notice how the 17e's refresh rate makes it feel a little bit different. All right, guys, so let's hop into Race the Sun here on both phones and see which one can do this first. I have noticed that the 17e is doing a bit better when it comes to launching the games versus the base apps. You can see still pretty much even there on that one. Let's go into Free Fire, and you'll see right here, Free Fire loading there first on the S26 Ultra. However, of course, it's going to be a much better experience on the S26 Ultra. Not only will it not throttle like the 17e may, but it also will give you a much larger, more vibrant display. So, of course, I'm going to have to go S26 Ultra for gaming experience, but probably not for the overall speed. Definitely the 17e not going to beat it there either. So S26 Ultra is definitely a beast in this area. You can see right here, though, that 17e caught up, or actually seemed like it was taking that already. Let's go here to tap to start. And I found this game to have better graphics on the iPhone than the Android devices. It's not particularly Samsung, but this game in particular looks better to me graphically on iPhone. However, one thing I'm noticing just tapping these right away, the 17e, I can feel the heat even through the front of the screen. So it's going to be interesting to check how warm these are at the end of this segment here. I do think that the 17e is going to be much warmer. I mean, that is pretty expected, but I want to see by how much. Let's go into Geekbench 6 and faster on the Ultra, and let's go into Speed Test Net, faster on the iPhone there, and InShot, faster on the Ultra. So overall, the Ultra won almost all of these. I think the 17e took like 2 or 3 applications. So yeah, the more you're paying for the Ultra, you are going to feel that difference, even in single core daily stuff like this and just general navigation. Let's check the heat real quick. Okay, guys, so we'll go ahead and check the iPhone really quickly here, because this one is the one I feel a little bit toastier. You can see up there 104 degrees. So yeah, if you push this 17e in gaming, launching a bunch of apps, you're going to feel that heat. This one had a slight second to cool down, but its max heat was 100 up there at the top. So almost 5 degrees warmer there on the iPhone 17e over the S26 Ultra. So more area to disperse that heat is definitely noticeable. The 17e, if you're charging it or even playing a heavy game, it will warm up. It's going to feel like the older iPhones did when it comes to warming up. Maybe a little bit better than those, because those had like those glass backs. This is like frosted, but still, the difference between a top tier flagship and the 17e comes down to thermals as well. That's pretty noticeable based on the data we just seen there. All right, so let's hop back through these applications. You can see everything launching very nice. This is one area where the 17e still looks very nice. The way it just kind of launches through the applications. It looks good, it holds things very well, 8 gigabytes of RAM allows a lot of apps to be open at once, although X is going to reload its feed. Here it goes, Instagram with a reload, and we go over here to Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, App Store, Calculator, Clock, and Calendar. You're going to see, even though that animation transition doesn't look quite as smooth due to, again, the lack of promotion, the phone itself was launching those apps very nicely and holding them very nice. So it's a good experience with your daily multitasking. Let me close that out really quickly. But the Ultra is going to be on another level, and you can see, I'm looking for, the price difference is quite a bit. So I'm looking to see, do I feel like it's like 50% better? And I do actually feel that, not only in the app speed, but the app transition animations here on the Ultra and the speed. It actually feels like twice as good as this price would suggest. So yes, is the iPhone 17 going to do the job? Yes. But is this twice as good in the price? I would say yes. And here's our final Geekbench 6 scores. And you can see that we got 3264 on the iPhone 17e and 3556 on the Galaxy S26 Ultra. You can see that this would actually make a lot of sense because in our app test, the Galaxy was a little bit ahead in just regular stuff, and the iPhone is pretty close there, and the score indicates that. But you can see here in the multi-core, the Galaxy pulls way ahead right there. I wouldn't say these scores show a 50% difference in price to performance, though, so let's see if that changes in the 3D Mark Extreme test. We'll be back. You can see here in Wildlife Extreme, we do have ourselves a 5793 on the right and a 3608 with an average frame rate of 34.69 on the right versus 21.6. So yes, the Galaxy S26 Ultra is going to just absolutely dog walk the iPhone 17e in daily performance in terms of games. Where the 17e will still do good though is in most everyday tasks, but the heat is just you're gonna feel it in the heat, and also you're probably gonna see throttling on terms of our graphics not looking as smooth as you continue to play this. And you can see after running that benchmark 106 degrees now with the Galaxy. Let's see its highest point. Was it 104? Did we hit 107? That wasn't on this phone, was it? Yeah, I don't see 104. So this one was getting pretty toasty under load as well. So pushing these phones both can get pretty warm. However, I do find that there's just more surface area on the Galaxy to just kind of disperse that heat. You feel it more because it's compacted into this smaller chassis of the iPhone 17e. All right, guys, so what I want to do is simulate a quick real world test here of using these phones and see how they tend to perform. So I'm just going to do a few little tasks here. I'm going to bounce through here. Let's open up some news and go ahead and read an article really quickly here. We'll go into technology. And so let's say I'm reading a quick article, this one right here from The Guardian, and let's go ahead and X that out. And then we're going to scroll over here until we go over here to Instagram. We'll check out some of my photos here, see what's happening, and we'll check out this post from last year. And let's go ahead and swipe up out of there and then scroll back over to calendar. Maybe we need to see what's happening in a couple of months here. And as you can see, as we run through these things, let's go ahead and do a quick little chat here with Copilot. What is the best iPhone coming in 2026? Let's just go ahead and do a quick query right there and see what happens here. You can see it'll be thinking for a second. And of course, it's just gonna go ahead and use your internet data to go ahead and pull this stuff in. But you can see you'll be able to do stuff like this pretty easily. Maybe the first foldable's coming. You'll see stuff of that sort. You've probably been reading about that a little bit as well. But generally, running these apps day to day, you can see no potential real slowdown. It's just the 17 doesn't go across the platform as fast or as smooth as a ProMotion. Now let's kind of emulate a similar experience here on the Galaxy. Let me close out news and relaunch it. So we'll go over here and you can see as we fly through doing stuff, you'll see, let's open that same article and we'll go ahead and X this out really quickly. And you can see you can swipe a little bit faster, not that you will, but it's also looking a little bit smoother there for sure. Let's hop over in a Play Store, that's good. How about we go look at my page? And you can see the actual loading, the actual launching looks just nicer here. It just looks faster and you can feel it. But it's crazy to me how the 17E can even be in the same breath or sentence as this phone. And I've heard some comments of people saying, well, you're not really pushing these phones to their max abilities. Most tech reviewers don't seem to get there. I've heard comments like that. And the bottom line is, you might be right, but I think almost nobody is really pushing any of these phones to like their absolute max. Like, how many? There's probably a niche amount of people doing that because they've overpowered these phones. So essentially, to me, I do think that the consumers are going to be pretty happy for the price with the 17E. But you do tend to feel that you're getting what you're paying for with the more premium phone. But you are paying for it. It's not like you're getting it for free or cheaper. Unless you do a trade-in, you'll get it a lot cheaper. Let's go ahead and do one wrap-up thing before we get up out of here. We're going to do the speed test net. We're going to see how fast the internet goes. And we'll start over here with the 17E. Let me go ahead and get on the same network here before we go ahead and do that. And we are. Now, this area, I do think the Samsung is going to win by a substantial margin. We're at 612 on the upload, probably not, or on the download, not on the upload, but I do think on the download. Okay, guys, so let's run one here on the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra and see what happens. Like I said, and as I expected, a substantially faster download. And I actually noticed this in the real world as well. The Galaxy S26 Ultra tends to give you not only faster than like the iPhone Pro, but even much faster than the iPhone 17e. So if you're looking for much faster speeds in this department, like communications, Wi-Fi, 5G, I do feel like the 17e, while good with its C1X, the second gen of that modem in there, I still think the S25 or S26 Ultra gives me just probably a much better overall download. That's just kind of how I've been feeling about it and noticing in the real world practice. So we're going to wrap it up here. 17E put up a good battle, but to me, we already knew the result that the S26 Ultra was going to be faster, but the conclusion and the thing I was looking for here is, does it justify the extra cost in just the area of speed? And I actually think it does. If you care about performance and RAM management, smooth feel, the S26 Ultra, going from a 17E to this, or deciding, do I want to save the money and get this? I don't think it's going to be worth it if you care about performance. We can also do the 17E versus the 17 Pro Max if you want to see how it compares against its big brother, the 17 Pro Max. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you found this mid-range versus flagship battle interesting, informative, or entertaining, do me a favor, click that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.